So the new horror game Phasmophobia has been making runs on the internet right now. It is currently one of the most watched games on Twitch, and people are wondering what makes this game so exciting. But before we get into Phasmophobia, let's get into the genre of horror games in the last few years. So as you may know, horror games are marketed towards a certain type of people. Not everybody likes horror games, even though everybody hears about them. I'm sure you've heard of games like Evil Within, Alien Isolation, and while those are all great games, I'm sure a lot of you haven't played them. It seems that now with the rise of multiplayer games, story-driven games are losing their market. While I'm sure a lot of you out there are fans of the story-driven video games, it seems to me that people are now double thinking about if they want to waste money on something they're only going to play through once or twice. And when you compare that to a multiplayer game where they can play every single day for years on end and they get a different experience every time they play, this seems to be something that makes a lot of sense. Now let's take this information and head into the horror genre. I'm sure most of you have been in your gaming market of choice, whether that be Steam, PS4 or Xbox, and notice that the horror games, or at least the good ones, tend to go for about $20 to $60. Now in today's age where a lot of the most popular games are free to play and multiplayer, which means they have unlimited replayability, this seems to be a lot for a lot of people. And the problem with horror is that a lot of these story-driven horror games take a lot to make. Not only that, but they have to be written extremely well in order to keep you immersed the entire time you play. And what this means for us the consumer is that most of the horror games you buy, and even the ones you buy for full price, are going to be pretty short compared to other video games. Now while there are times where the game can give you other missions or side tasks that will make the game longer and give you even more playtime, a lot of it is going to be redundant and is not going to be a main part of the story. So that begs the question, what exactly makes Phasmophobia so good? And to be completely honest and upfront, that is replayability. While there are some exceptions in the games today, most people can agree that horror games are mostly made for the single player experience. The creator of horror games seems to know that you're going to play the game by yourself, and that makes it a little bit scarier for you, which means that they don't have to work that hard. In Phasmophobia, it takes this to a whole new level, making the game not only scary, but scary when you play with friends. And the main reason behind this is the AI program that controls the ghost and the RNG inside the game. So like I mentioned earlier, horror games are mostly a one and done trip. Most of the times you'll play a horror game once or twice and you won't come back. If you do come back, you're most likely a completionist who wants to get all the trophies, or it's just been a while since the last time you played. But the fact that Phasmophobia is a different experience every time you play means that the game has pretty much endless replayability. So replayability is the main point to any game when it comes to longevity. For those of you who don't believe me, let's take a look at Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 came out in 2009 and it is still going strong with a thriving community. Now I'm sure most of you have played Left 4 Dead, but those of you who haven't, Left 4 Dead is pretty much a zombie game where you have to run from point A to point B and kill as many zombies as you can. Now I'm sure while a lot of people might argue that Left 4 Dead is not a horror game, I beg to differ since it is a zombie game after all and it does have creepy atmospheric music. Now Left 4 Dead 2 is considered a masterpiece by many due to the fact that it solely revolves around replayability. In Left 4 Dead, there is a program called the AI Director. So what the AI Director program does in Left 4 Dead is pretty much spawn things according to a number of variables. Those variables can be things like how much health you have, how many teammates you have alive, what weapons you have, or how close you are to the finish, amongst others. This AI Director program then spawns in enemies to make it harder for you or to make it easier for you depending on the situation. So pretty much what this means is that no run of Left 4 Dead will ever play the same. You will get different enemy spawns and different items almost every single time you play, which means that it will stay fresh no matter what. This alone has kept the Left 4 Dead community alive for a decade, with modders being the only source of new content for the game since 2012. The Left 4 Dead community is so active that Valve, the creator of Left 4 Dead, actually released the first official update in 8 years to please its fans. The form of randomly generated horror games is something that Phasmophobia does that a lot of other horror games have not attempted before. We as gamers are so used to the heavily linear gameplay that comes with most modern horror games. Phasmophobia has gone out on a limb and let us enjoy a horror game where we are not limited to the places that we can go or the tactics that we can try to complete the game. They are so confident in their game engine that they let players roam around their world and create their own experiences rather than limit the player to a cliche number of pre-programmed events. It seems to me that Phasmophobia has reinvented the definition of the modern horror game rather than anything before it. While there are other multiplayer horror games out on the market right now, nothing seems to capture the charm and novelty that comes from this game. I'm sure this game has made a lot of new horror fans or rekindled the love of old horror fans. It seems that the formula of entering a haunted house with your friends and not knowing what events are coming has worked wonders for this game. Hopefully with the success of Phasmophobia, future developers can learn that there is a demand and a market for these type of games. And maybe, just maybe, horror games can have a bright future ahead of them. Anyways guys, this is the Kira. I hope you all enjoyed the commentary video. I love writing this kind of stuff and doing small essays on these kind of topics. If you have any topic you want me to cover, make sure to leave that in the comments below. And like always, I will see you all in the next one.